Hello, Saibal. Such a pleasure to have you on our show. And thank you so much for taking time to talk to Media4Growth.
Hey, thanks for having me here, Rajiv. It's my pleasure to be on your show on Media for Growth, and happy to and look forward to a great interaction.
Thank you, Saibal. Saibal, I do know that you're a very experienced marketing professional and you work with top brands. And today you are spearheading the marketing function for the healthcare digital platform, MediBuddy. From your experience, tell us how brand communications becomes a strategic arm of business for a platform like MediBuddy.
I think, brand communication is very, very important for MediBuddy because first you have to understand the business which MediBuddy is in. We are an aggregator of all healthcare services which we aggregate in the online space, right from doctor consultation to diagnostics, labs, to online pharmacy, which is medicine delivery to your home, or end-to-end surgery care. We provide those services, which means that we have to make our platform and brand visible as well as top of the mind for all the consumers who probably would want to interact with us and use those services in online or in an omni-channel environment from how they are currently accessing those services. Which means that we need to talk to them about what are the benefits these services can offer to them if they avail it online on MediBuddy, as well as we need to also create top of the mind recall for the MediBuddy as a brand. So this is where it is very important. And as I said, a bit of understanding of the business is important because we are an aggregator. So while on the supply side, these are the services which we provide, we need to create a demand for these services. So a top of the mind recall of awareness about MediBuddy, the services it offers, and what is so special about MediBuddy as a platform is very important to create that demand. Similarly, on the supply side, this is also important. So who are our suppliers? Our suppliers are diagnostic centers which are standalone or part of a chain, all the top hospital networks which are onboarded on us, all the top doctors who provide their service either offline or online on our platform, or for that matter, our tie-ups with all the other leading online service delivery for medicine providers, as well as standalone your pharmacy stores. So it's important to have a recall. It also helps facilitate they sort of coming to our services and auto onboarding themselves on our platform. So from all this perspective of both demand generation as well as supply management, it is highly pertinent for us to create that awareness first, then top of the mind recall, as well as create a differentiation for us in this space and progressively live up to what is the brand's vision. So MediBuddy's vision is to make healthcare affordable and accessible to 1 billion Indians. So in order for that to happen, I think creating a strong awareness, recall, and differentiation is very important.
Brilliant, absolutely brilliant. Making healthcare affordable and accessible to 1 billion people, which is possible only when you are going digital. But at the same time, unlike a lot of other digital platforms that may be catering to varied requirements of people, healthcare is a very sensitive subject and requires a lot of assurance and trust. As such, the healthcare industry has always faced this big question of trust deficit. So when you're taking all of these services on the online platform, how do you message out to the public on the aspect of assurance and trust?
Sure. I think it is, as you said, this is a very critical service or a need. No one actually thinks of healthcare till the time they need it. And when they need it, it is something which can aggravate even to a life and death situation. Which means that whatever promise you make to a consumer has to be fulfilled. There is
Right.
no going back on it. Uh, I would not say it's a good practice, but in certain sectors, uh, although brand promise is very important, delivering the quality is very important in every sector or industry, but in a healthcare sector, this is the single most critical thing to do. And a brand like MediBuddy builds uh, this through a series of interventions which we have built in uh, at our end to sort of to drive that quality of services, which means that when I promise something, like I promise doctor within 10 minutes or a video consultation within 10 minutes facilitated by a specialist doctor, not
Mm.
only MBBS doctor, but a specialist MD doctor within 10 minutes, 24 by 7, 365 days, anytime, anywhere, which means that there are multiple interventions I have to do in my value chain, right from ensuring that the technology stack is updated and capable of supporting that interaction in a way where a two-way communication happens, where an online diagnosis of your problem can be done and a suitable solution provided to you where you are on recovery, paths to recovery, which means that again providing an online medicine prescription which is as per all the norms, which caters to medicine which is available either on MediBuddy as a platform or in some other platform near you, so you choose to buy all those. Second part of it is ensuring the quality of the service is very important. What does quality means? See, if you go back and look at it from a very consumer lens, consumers prefer what kind of doctors? He prefers certain doctors who will listen to you patiently, understand your problems, ask you about the symptoms, and then empathize with your problem, and then give you a prescription or a solution or ask him to do a test which sets you on your path to recovery. I think controlling the quality of interaction by repeated trainings, rating of our doctors, understanding how each session goes, collecting that feedback from a consumer, looking at it at both an individual doctor level as well as at the aggregate level, and then using the in-house training team which we have, plus the ongoing certification programs as well as training programs. We have a program called CME, which is like continued medical education,
Mhm.
which means that even if you are a MD or a specialist doctor, I would also teach you the softer parts of how to communicate with your patient. I will tell you the harder parts of what is new available, either in terms of medicine or treatment. So, everywhere we try to build a strong feedback loop, we try to build something which, as and when we start making more and more and more uh, interventions with patients, all the data which we collect can eventually improve the system. I think doing this progressively, and I gave you only an example of doctor video consultation. This is true for all the services. This is even true for something like we have a set of flavors. We call flavors is the technical term where you send someone to your house to pick up a sample. Now we have trained the flavors to make the sample collection process as seamless as possible.
Mhm.
People have a lot of apprehension where someone comes and is wanting to poke a needle to your arm. So right from the way to how you present it yourself, to the training of collecting the sample, to how you should rightly poke that needle so that it is as painless as possible, all leads to a great experience. So, so if I were to sum up this discussion, this we do across all the verticals which we have. So there is some kind of training, some kind of feedback mechanism. We look at consumer feedback, consumer ratings, and then again take learnings and build it back into the system. So across all the services which we have, we are able to build trust by ensuring consistency whatever we promise. So if I promise doctor in 10 minutes, I will give you a specialist doctor in 10 minutes in any of the 16 languages, 24 by 7, 365 days a year, anytime, anywhere. If I promise a flavor available within 2 hours in your house from the time of booking, and I will give you the best experience, better than what you can get anywhere else. I think that is what sort of also builds this trust on what we are claiming as a brand. And then also seamlessly building up product and services which looks at what is the logical consumer journey, and taking him from a point where in the current existing status quo where there is some kind of friction today in the services which he's availing, figuring out ways to not only promise those reductions but actually delivering those reductions. I think that is how we are thinking about it from a very mid-term, long-term point of building a very strong, trusted brand in healthcare.
Absolutely impressive and comprehensive. When you want to take this communication out to pan India, what is your preferred route in terms of leveraging the different media channels?
Sure. See, I think, as I said, that the eventual goal for this brand is touching up 1.4 billion Indians and making healthcare affordable and accessible, which means that we would want each and every Indian to be aware of the services offered by MediBuddy, and at some point of time, wherever there is a need, sort of think of us as one of the providers who can sort of help him in his journey of either a prevention of a healthcare problem or recovery from that healthcare problem. And in doing so, I think we have always believed in a multi-channel approach, but even more than the channel, I think a brand building, or for that matter, I would say in this case, it is category creation, where I am creating a category of online healthcare along with some of the other players in this field. It is very important that we make a right channel selection at the right point of time. Now, what time are we today? So if I look at, and this is government data I am quoting, there are 3 billion offline consultations which happen in India in a year. Now, the online penetration of the service is still minuscule. It is not even 1%, which means that only very few people are going to come online and use the services. Now, if that is the current scenario, for a brand to build itself up sustainably, while there will be a lot of channel choices possible, I think it is very important to understand at what stage of evolution of the category today it is in the category is, and where does your brand fit in. So for our brand, the objective is first category creation over brand building, which means that if you have to create a category, you have to target people who are more receptive to coming today online and doing their online transactions. So how we look at the market is, there is today 600 million people who are using WhatsApp in India regularly. Now, then there are 120 to 150 e-commerce users, out of which 20 million would be people who are classified as so-called medium or heavy, and there is a small part who is really heavy, who are using other than e-commerce, regular grocery delivery, using OTT services, you are very conversant to using all these financial products and services online. So anyone who is already online, who is heavy e-commerce users, who is conversant of doing a e-commerce transaction either UPI or through a credit card, all these are our core TGs from which we are trying to get the early adopters and eventually early majority. Now, having explained this strategy, then my channel selection comes in. So rather than at this stage focusing a lot on mass marketing advertisements, I am today focusing more on targeting a person who is already tech savvy, who is already having a huge online footprint, connecting him with some of the channels where he will be receptive to our communication. So it can be intent based, like if someone is searching for anything related to healthcare, I have to be present there. It could be educational, where even if he is understanding something which is the adjacent category, I can do something to build awareness. again, I have to link back to what I said earlier. Healthcare is a very need-based service. So you may not always be able to sort of drive a brand preference or a category creation at the time of need. You will have to build his memory structures by exposing him to it long before that actual need arises. That's why some of those video channels, be YouTube, be OTT, all these are interesting for me because it helps me target those specific set of heavy e-commerce users who are already online, make them aware of the service possibilities available online, focus on key benefits of convenience, accessibility, which are very critical for growing this healthcare category, and then sort of look at a channel strategy from there. This is at this stage. Now you may also ask, looking into the future, what might happen? Of course, when we cross the inflection point, this is something which is mass. And linking back to the previous question, that once you have delivered a service as critical as healthcare, where if you are able to create a real wow experience, at that point of time is where there would be repeats happening organically. Then is the time when you have at least crossed somewhere up to early majority kind of adoption in your adoption curve of that category. I think all the other channels which are slightly more massier are also then becoming very important. Of course, the lens I'm looking at is from a sustainability lens, because creating a category in online healthcare is not a 1 year, 2 year job. It is a job of 3 to 10 years where the category gradually shifts logically. And you can link back to some of the other categories which have really become big, right? From basic e-commerce to online banking. So these are all journeys which are over a period of time. And then, of course, I would say that channels where a person is going to use the service today offline, where there is a lot of contextuality, like he today is going to a doctor clinic or a diagnostic center to use some of the services offline. I think intervening at those points and doing contextual advertising through offline branding or outdoor presence or a hoarding, etc., is also something which is critical. This may not have an immediate ROI, as I explained, that memory structures need building over a period of time, but wherever possible, a process in that journey, somewhere you will have to also start. The lens obviously I use is from the perspective of it becoming sustainable. In the process of category creation, you cannot have a start-stop. There is a start and there is a always on, which is what we follow.